Good morning, everyone. My name is Xavier Bertin. Today I will tell you about the processes controlling the closure of shallow inlets. This presentation is a synthesis of several studies that were conducted with many colleagues, mostly in Europe, like André Fortunato from LNC in Portugal, Guillaume Daudet, Diogo Mendes, and many others. As you all know, wave-dominated inlets are very dynamic environments, particularly under storm waves. The main channel can migrate very fast, can shoal, and eventually close. This is what we are seeing here in the Óbidos Lagoon, where under very strong waves, almost 10-meter wave height, we see that the Óbidos Lagoon can close. This presentation makes a synthesis of several studies that were conducted mostly at two systems, the Óbidos Lagoon to the north of Lisbon and the Albufeira Lagoon to the south of Lisbon. At both sites, we can see a seasonal cycle where during fair weather conditions, the inlet enlarges and deepens, so that the tidal propagation increases. Here we can see the amplitude of the M2 constituent, which is dominant, while during winter months and storm waves, the inlet shoals and eventually closes, so that the tidal propagation decreases. This cycle in tidal amplitude is out of phase with the cycle of the wave height, because in summer we usually have calm conditions, and in winter we have the succession of storm waves. In the following, I will explain the origin of this cycle. In order to better understand these processes, we also develop and apply morphodynamic modeling systems. Here we can see an animation of the evolution of the Óbidos Lagoon inlet over several months. We can see that under fair weather conditions, the inlet enlarges and deepens, which improves the tidal propagation. And then in the autumn and winter, during storm waves, you can see that the inlet shoals, the width reduces, and the inlet is almost closed. We can see also that a lot of sun is entering the system. We explain the development of these systems under fair weather conditions due to a strong ebb dominance. On the upper panel, you can see the mean water depth across the Óbidos Lagoon. The situation idealized without waves. And what we can see first is that the ebb lasts about 2 times more than the flood. More surprisingly, the ebb currents are also stronger than the flood currents, which poses a challenge in terms of mass conservation. This is only possible because the ebb takes place, on average, in a smaller water depth than the flood. In terms of sediment transport, if we have stronger currents during the ebb, and if the ebb is lasting more than the flood, of course we have a strong ebb dominance, and the system without waves exports a lot of sediments. Here we perform numerical experiments to better understand the effect of waves. First, without waves, on this panel, as I told you just before, there is a strong ebb dominance and the inlet mostly exports sounds. If we start to consider wave height of 1.5 meter, we can see the development of sound transport towards the lagoon in both sides of the main channel and also in the flood delta. And then for storm waves, 3 meters or more, we can see that only the middle of the main channel remains ebb dominated. Everywhere this flood dominated, the sand is entering the system. So the transition from ebb domination to flood domination at this particular inlet occurs for wave height over 1.5 to 2 meters. And in the following, we will explain in details why. In order to better understand these patterns, we further analyzed the model results and computed a simple momentum balance analysis for storm wave conditions. Here is the bathymetry that we considered, the field of wave height. Dissipation of wave height drives strong wave forces up to 100 Pascal. This will tilt the free surface elevation and drive a setup, and this setup will induce a barotropic pressure gradient. If we make the sum with the wave forces, we have a so-called residual forces. At adjacent beaches, we can see that there is a good balance between both. This is a very well-known phenomenon, but at the inlet, this is not the case. We have a longshore lateral barotropic pressure gradient, which will drive strong flows towards the lagoon, and also this specific area on the ebb delta that I will detail. As we saw in the previous slide, in front of the inlet, on the outer part of the ebb delta, the wave forces are only partly balanced by a barotropic pressure gradient because the wave setup is interrupted by the lagoon. This causes a strong onshore directed residual force that will drive strong flows towards the lagoon and push a lot of sand in the lagoon. As we can see in this animation, during storm conditions, we can see some sandbanks migrating toward the coast. And we propose to call this process a bulldozer effect. Another process is the blocking of the short waves during the ebb. Here now we moved at the Albufera Lagoon inlet, and we are looking at field observations. The upper panel corresponds to water level measurements. In blue, these are the data at 1 Hz, so we can see the fluctuation corresponds to short waves. And what we can see is that there is a strong asymmetry between the end of the flood and the beginning of the ebb, where during most of the ebb we have no fluctuation anymore inside the lagoon. If we compute the wave height, this is confirmed. We have very small wave height, a few centimeters only during the ebb. And if we look at the time series of spectra or a spectrogram, we can see that first the high frequency disappear, and as and when the ebb gets stronger, we block more and more energy toward lower frequency, and after mid-ebb there is no energy propagating anymore, even in the infragravity band. What is happening is that first the opposing current, they will induce a shoaling of the short waves, their steepening, and subsequent dissipation by white capping. Then when the water depths get smaller and the tidal currents get stronger, the tidal current can locally reach the group speed of the short waves so that the short wave can no longer propagate in the inlet. So over a tidal cycle, as the short waves they increase some fluxes due to the steering, this process only promotes the flood transport, so the transport towards the lagoons, because the short waves are blocked during the ebb. And we showed that under storm waves, this can contribute to the shoaling of the inlet mouth. A last process we were looking at recently concerns infragravity waves. Infragravity waves are long waves associated with the presence of groups in the incident short waves. Here we considered a synthetic bichromatic case, only 2 examples, and we computed the infragravity waves based on the pioneering theories of Longetinit and Stewart, and you can see the long wave in red out of phase with the wave groups. Just an animation to show how it looks like in the near shore. This is a video taken in Santander in Spain during a major storm, and we can see a major massive IG waves, probably 2 meters high. This process was abundantly studied in sandy beach environment, but we were among the first to investigate its relevance at shallow inlets and estuaries. In October 2018, we conducted a specific field campaign to collect measurements under a very severe storm, which correspond to a tropical storm that made landfall in Portugal. So we deployed several sensors just before the storm in the Albufera Lagoon inlet. And as you can see, this is the morphology before the storm, and just after the storm, 2 days after, the inlet was almost closed. I will only show you a sample of field observation collected on the flood delta. The upper panel corresponds to a time series of water depths over 20 minutes, and the black curve corresponds to a low-pass filter signal, where we can see the propagation of infragravity waves that can reach or exceed half a meter. The middle panel corresponds to tidal current velocities, and we can see large fluctuations that can reach almost 3 meters per second, and the lower panel corresponds to sediment concentration. We can see that at the passage of the crest of an infragravity wave is associated a peak in fluid currents and a peak in sediment concentration. We can see that during these events, the sediment concentration increases by a factor of 2. So this process contributes to the deposition of considerable amount of sand in the inlet region. And over a tidal cycle, as the IG waves are blocked, this process only promotes deposition near the inlet mouth. So we showed that this process contributes to the shoaling and the closure of shallow inlets during storms. This brings me already to my conclusions. First, we saw that the enlargement of tidal inlets under fair weather conditions was explained by a strong tidal asymmetry, which promotes ebb dominance in terms of sediment transport. Then we saw that the filling in sediment of tidal inlets under energetic wave conditions was explained by several wave-induced processes. And ultimately, we saw that for the first time, IG waves can propagate to the closure of tidal inlets. Usually, infragravity waves are not included in numerical modeling systems, and we think that including this process in morphologic modeling systems could allow to reproduce inlet closure for the first time. According to my knowledge, there is no study that allow to reproduce this behavior, at least using realistic physical parametrization. Thank you for your attention, and if you are interested in this research, this synthesis is based mostly on the 5 papers that we published over the last decade.